changed in a moment, caught up in the twinkling of an eye. A day is coming, there'll be no war. Peace will take over the land. No more broken heart, abandoned and alone. God will separate the right from wrong. Then we'll be changed in a moment, caught up in the twinkling of an eye.
Is my mic on? Is my mic on? Hey, thank you for joining Lizzy. Yes, I'm your host right here at Life with Lizzy. I'm right here at Believe Radio. It's your 24-hour inspirational and gospel music channel. Listen, I say it every week. You got to believe in something. You might as well believe in us, right? Do me a favor, you guys. Listen, go ahead and tag a neighbor, call a friend, let them know that the girl is in and she is ready to talk life. Listen, guys, I tell you guys every week how blessed I am, and I'm grateful that you decide to join me every Saturday, 12 noon, right here at Believe Radio. Y'all, we got a show today. Friends, lifelines, we have a show today. Listen, I'm a little sad because guess what? It's the season finale. Yes, you rock with your girl one whole season, and I'm so grateful. So, listen, we gonna go hard or we gonna go home, and you know we don't go home. We go hard. We go hard in the paint, and I'm so excited today because we get a chance to have a conversation, and we get a chance to see grace like we've never seen grace before. Today's show is entitled Closed Case, Open Grace, because my brother, my friend is here, none other than God's man. Listen, y'all, I'm telling you, pull up, because guess what? Ricky Godfrey is in the room. He in the room, y'all. He is in the room. And listen, he brought his wife. She in the room. Listen, y'all, we got a story to tell you guys. So go ahead, do me a favor, tag somebody, invite them in because we are getting ready to go. Listen, Rick, I am so glad that you and Lady Anissa has joined me here at Belief Radio. Y'all, welcome to the room. Welcome to the table, the Godfreys. Y'all, the Godfreys, the Godfreys. Listen, I am so Team Godfrey. Listen, you guys have a story that is simply amazing.
Yes.
The fact that you are here to share this is, it's so surreal and so like for real.
Yes.
Listen, I'm not going to bother or bore anyone's patience. I want to get into this. Your wife and I, we have been friends for a long time, and she kind of, shared with me, but I want you to share your story, how you survived being wrongfully accused and being locked away for, is it 31 years?
31 years.
Yeah.
31 years.
Grab y'all tissue, okay? Grab your tissue. I wanna get into that because that's amazing, and that you're here, because most people that get that level of time, they're still there, they're still fighting.
Absolutely.
But I heard that God was very much an instrumental part in the way that you can sit here today and tell the world about the grace of God.
Absolutely.
Listen, thank you for so much for you guys' yes. So let's get into it. Thank you for coming. But
Thank
tell
you
me,
for having us.
who is Ricky? Who is Ricky Godfrey?
Ricky Godfrey. Ricky Godfrey is a son.
Mhm.
Ricky Godfrey is a father.
Mhm.
Ricky Godfrey is an uncle. Ricky Godfrey is a cousin. Ricky Godfrey is a husband. Ricky Godfrey is a friend. Ricky Godfrey is a man of faith.
Yeah, I like
And
that.
I don't say that lightly.
Mhm.
In order to sit where I'm at today,
Mhm.
have to have faith.
Right.
Because without faith and the works that go behind faith,
Mhm.
none of this would be possible. I was
Wow.
scheduled to die in
Wow.
prison. They tried to give me the death penalty
Really, let's talk about that. Let's start here, because I think you just don't wake up and all of a sudden you get the
Not at
death
all.
penalty.
Not at all.
Let's talk about what it was like growing up as a kid. I know we did some talking before. I know you told me about around 11 years old. That's kind of like when you hit the street. You know, like
Yes.
you was introduced to the hustle.
Yes.
And so, if I'm not mistaken, your incarceration happened at what, 18?
18.
So from 11 to 18, you hustling. What does that look like for an 11-year-old?
Uh, it was, I had to do what I thought I had to do, but
Mm-hmm.
probably really didn't have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I began running away from home. I began ditching school, where I, ultimately dropped out of school in the
Mm-hmm.
fifth grade.
Mm-hmm.
Only class I completed was the fourth grade. So
Mm-hmm.
just running the streets. Let me backtrack a little bit. I grew up in North Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived all over Richmond.
Right.
North Richmond was a 4,000, approximately 4,000 residential community,
Mm-hmm.
very close knitted,
Mm-hmm.
very family orientated. Everybody looked out for each other. Uh, Yet still, there was a lot of crime. There were a
Right.
lot of things that was going on, within that community that children shouldn't be exposed to.
Got it.
But understanding, poverty produces crime.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it was. So
Mm-hmm.
I became involved in that. I had family members that was in the streets. I had, cousins, my dad, my uncles,
Mm-hmm.
people like that
Mm-hmm.
I looked up to,
Mm-hmm.
community figures, that I took after. So after a while, being introduced to that,
That's all you knew.
that's all I knew,
Got it.
and I got embedded in that.
Right.
Uh, I had a wonderful grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
mother, but they was caught up in their own thing.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
So and practically, I just did what I wanted to
You did
do.
what you
You
want
know
to
what I
do.
mean? I did what I wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't feel that nobody could stop
Stop
me.
you.
You
Right.
know,
Wow.
and I think that God, He speaks to us,
Mm-hmm.
in a way that we don't understand at the particular time.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that played a part in me being removed from mainstream society
Right.
and having to sit behind the desolate walls of imprisonment,
Mm-hmm.
imprisonment, for
Mm-hmm.
31 years,
Wow.
uh, even though it was for a crime that I didn't commit. I
Mm-hmm.
think that God sometimes He talked to us in a way to say, look, I'm gonna get your attention one way or the other
So
because
let's talk about that day when God got your attention.
yes,
Take me to that day.
yes.
Was it like any other day? What happened?
Yeah, just like
Tell us.
any other day. So I was
Uh-huh.
hustling with a group of individuals that I thought was, friends,
Mm-hmm.
and we riding around, we selling drugs,
Mm-hmm.
smoking weed,
Mm-hmm.
doing a little drinking. But they were doing a little drinking, I was smoking weed,
Mm-hmm.
and I was selling drugs,
Mm-hmm. Got it.
and we riding around, and we encountered an individual, and I'm gonna say his name. His name is Harvey Northley,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know him. I
Right.
never had no dealings with him, never sold him any drugs or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Occupants in the vehicle knew him and
Right.
decided that they wanted to collect the debt or sell drugs, whatever it was. And upon that encounter, they get out the car. They get out the car. I had no reason to get out the car.
Right. You
I
you
didn't.
want why you want
I
my
don't.
weed?
Yeah, I don't know this. I don't
Right.
know this individual,
Got
so
it.
it wasn't a sale for me.
Mm-hmm.
So they get out the car, and ultimately, one of the guys take his life. No,
Wow.
they shoot him. Did I know that that was going to happen? No. Did I
Absolutely.
plan that was going to happen? No, I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I didn't know that somebody had lost their life until after the fact. After I, demanded to be dropped off back off in my car, and I went about my business. 3 days later, I was being summoned by the police to be
Wow.
talked to about a crime
Wow.
that I was supposed to said to have committed.
What was going through your mind? Like, was it like a
Fear,
knock at a door, or they just?
fear. So what it was is when one of the guys presented a court for me saying that the detective wanted to talk to me, I called the number on the court,
Mm-hmm.
and they came to my mother's house, and that was the last time I saw the street. They told me they wanted to talk to me, but yet and still, they put me in cuffs, took me to the station, and arrested me and falsely charged me with the crime of attempted robbery and homicide. Yes.
Wow.
So
So when you look back at that, you said, I was afraid, because at the end of the day, you were still a baby, you were still a
absolutely,
kid.
absolutely.
I mean, what was your family saying? What was your family doing at this point?
And they was devastated as well.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that eventually they end up moving out of that place of
Mm-hmm.
Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
At the time it was a lot going on.
Right. Right.
Drugs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't mean to throw my mother or my grandmother or my father under the bus because they did what they could do.
Like every parent.
Yeah. So, but drugs was being involved, was being used. So that was a bad environment,
Right.
and
It was a toxic
yeah.
environment. Got it.
So once I was placed into this situation of incarceration, then my brother up under me ended up falling in the same thing, wrongfully convicted, hanging with a group of
Wow.
kids. He went to the California Youth Authority. And I
Wow.
believe that they figured enough is enough. So they
Mhm.
end up moving away from there and moving to another part of California just to get away from that environment. And, so they were devastated. And I think that a lot of them just really couldn't believe what was going on. And they asked me straight up, did you commit this crime? No, I did not commit this crime. My baby sister has, and I never forget. She wrote me a letter. Brother, I just want to know, did you kill that man? Absolutely not, sister. I didn't kill that man.
So from the beginning until today, you're saying I didn't do this.
Not at all.
Wow. I couldn't imagine, trying to sitting there trying to put my life together, not knowing, what do I say? What do I do? And was there a part of you that wanted to say, surely they're gonna find out the truth and I'm gonna go home?
Absolutely. I just knew that wholeheartedly. Like, I didn't even know that I was being framed until after, I got to the county jail and, some of the elders in there would say, hey, man, get this document. Do you got this document? Do you got? And I'm like, no, what is that?
Wow,
Yes.
that's crazy. So what did they officially convict you on?
Attempted robbery and first degree murder.
Wow.
Yes.
And so when you heard that in the court,
my heart sunk. My heart sunk. And so did my family. My grandmother passed out in the courtroom. She had a seizure, I believe, first time once they, found me guilty. They found me guilty of this crime. And I just want to say, like, for Mr. Norfleet's family, they was given a narrative by the prosecutor's side. You know what I mean? So that narrative is that I committed this crime. And you never once had a chance to speak to me. And I just want to say that that narrative is wrong. And I can say it wrong. I can say it's wrong with confidence because the evidence it shows that.
Yeah, so
The
I was going to
document
ask
shows
you.
that.
So no evidence that would,
None whatsoever.
no photos, because I know we talked about no photos,
of.
no DNA, just this is who did it, and no investigative
That's
work.
it. That's it. While the real perpetrator escaped, and they didn't even investigate that. So, so they searched my mother's residence. They said they had permission to search the residence. Well, out of that residence, they say this after the fact that they, went to the suspect's car and removed a couple items out of that car. So the same item that they said they found in his vehicle, the next day while I'm in custody, they said they went to my mother's house and found the same exact two kind of items, which was a 357 Magnum bullet that has never been shot from a gun and a beanie ski mask type of hat. And they said that this was used in the crime. And they used that against me in court. And they said that we got this out his house, which it wasn't my house, it was my mother's house. Stayed there periodically. But they never tested it. So that played an instrumental role of me being here today.
Wow. So it sounds like to me they ran with the narrative. And back in Richmond in that time, the police department, it was corrupt. It was,
Absolutely.
and somebody, and I can only imagine somebody had to pay for this crime. So
Absolutely.
instead of, doing the job of the investigators, hey, you're going to pay for it. So
Yes.
while you're sitting in prison, what's going on in your heart? Are you saying, is why am I here? Like, what did I do to deserve this? I didn't do it. God, like, did you ever have a conversation saying like, now wait a minute, God, now I done some dirt, but now it doesn't warrant this?
Yes, absolutely, no doubt. I was angry. I'm still angry, but that angry don't turn into me doing something stupid or anything like that. That angriness turned into me becoming a certified paralegal to learn these laws, to see how is it that they can do what they did to me. And what I found is that I wasn't the only one. So once I realized that I wasn't the only one, then I began to dig. I began to dig and dig and dig until it got to the bottom of it. And what I found was that coerced witnesses, misidentification, police corruption was at the number one scheme of things. Like you say, during that time, the police was bad in Richmond. However, the information that we had was just that they was bad in Richmond. But to what extent? We didn't know that, right? Until years later, when I began to dig into the history of the Richmond Police Department.
There's a picture that you sent to me. I think was this like your lineup picture? Let's look at that. I want you to
Yes,
look
let
right
me
there.
see.
Is that like your lineup picture?
So that picture actually is a picture that a year before the actual crime happened.
Hmm.
So that is not what I look like on the day in question.
So wow. So they're looking for somebody that doesn't even. Oh wow. That's crazy.
So I don't know if you have the other actual picture of
Hmm.
what I look like on
Hmm.
the day in question.
Hmm.
And let's see if I could pull it up right quick. Uh,
Wow. So that's a picture of you just in your youth, just living your life. And, and now here we go. They're looking for somebody that doesn't even look like this particular person.
Absolutely, right? So this is
Mm-hmm.
again the corruption, right? So that picture was taken in 1991.
Mm-hmm.
The said crime happened in 1992. So they used that picture in a lineup, but this is what I look like
That's what
on
you
the
look
day that
like.
I was arrested. And the
Wow.
crime, this
Totally
picture is
different.
3 days from the crime.
So you're there. I just want to backtrack a little bit. So you have this jewelry. And normally when we think of the jewelry, you would think that there would be somebody that represents us. And what I've noticed in just in research, a lot of our brothers and our sisters are being convicted by jewelry that we normally say of their peers, but those aren't my peers.
It's a gimmick.
Wow. So let's look at this jewelry. There's a photo that I have of your jewelry. None of those look like your peers.
The world needs to see that. The world needs to
So
see that.
these are the
11 white men and one Filipino lady. And that's what they look like the day that I was convicted.
so these were the individuals
These were the individuals that judged my life.
that judged your life and said, you know what, we are going to convict you with no evidence. We're going to
Absolutely.
convict you with no just with the story. Just
Absolutely.
that's all
That's
we
it.
have. And so now you're sitting in there, and I know you said when you got there you were angry, you were upset. The lifestyle that you lived on the outside, was it easier to continue that path in prison?
Yes, absolutely.
Mm,
So, in order to take care of myself, because I didn't want to put no burden on anyone, and I began to sell drugs in prison. I
wow.
began to do the things that, I was accustomed to doing in mainstream society
Hmm.
and to take care of myself, to provide myself. Eventually, I stopped, of
Hmm.
course,
Right.
but yes, I
Yeah, we're
did
gonna
that.
talk about
Yeah,
right.
I did that. So,
So you and they're like, okay, I'm in here now. And so that was there any point that you said, um, this being in here saved my life?
absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely, because I began to look at my friends, I began to look at my brother, who lost his life. These are individuals that I hung with on a daily basis,
Hmm.
so they died.
Hmm.
And I thought, like, that probably could have been me.
Hmm.
That probably could have been me. Or I could have did something that got me to prison,
Like for
with the,
real.
yeah,
For something that
exactly.
I actually did
Yeah,
do.
absolutely, because I was committing crime. So, I
Mm-hmm.
thought about that. I thought about that. And, let me be, clear that when I, sold drugs and stuff in prison, it wasn't because I was guilty of any crime. It was because I was rebelling.
Right.
If you're gonna have me in here for something I didn't do, then I'm
Hmm.
gonna do what I want to do
Hmm.
until somebody take notice of it. And every day I tell them, I'm innocent of this crime. And I know many people looked at me like,
Hmm.
yeah, they all say that,
Right, right.
but that's not true.
And did you feel that? Did you get
Yes,
that? You
absolutely,
got that from the
absolutely.
officers?
From
You
the
even
officers and other
and the
incarcerated
other
people.
inmates.
Yes,
Wow,
yes,
wow. So you're in there, and I'm still wilding out, but in the back of your head, you're saying, "I didn't do this,"
yes.
and you're saying, "I got to get out of here."
Hmm.
What was the piece where you said, "Okay, I got to figure out how to get out of here"? Because listen, they didn't just took my whole entire life. What was that moment like? What happened in that moment where you said, "Okay, enough is enough. I gotta somehow figure out a way to get out of here"?
Yes.
What
So
was
I
that
think that
moment?
year was probably around 2005, 2006,
So you're probably
around
in there about what,
about 8 years,
8
9
years?
years. Yeah. So,
Hmm.
I had to come to the realization that I don't belong here. And I had to treat, my time there as that. I don't belong here. So since I don't belong here, what do I do?
Was there something that made you come to that conclusion? Did something happen on the outside? Was it, at this point, you in there for 8 years, and
Yes.
for most families, out of sight, out of mind. Like he in there, nobody visiting or nobody putting money on my books. Like, what was it that made you say, I got to get out of here?
And
It's just me by myself.
yeah, I was met with that as well. So that played a part as well as me just, coming to a realization that, hey, dude, if you don't do the right thing, you're gonna die in here. So me understanding that that was a possibility, I didn't want to die in prison. So I began to do the things that I needed to do to work toward this instead of being stuck in a lifestyle of imprisonment. So I began to go to law library.
Right. So
and
that's
things
what
like
I'm
that.
saying. So that's when you became, you said, I'm going to become a paralegal.
Absolutely.
So with the fifth
Absolutely.
grade education, you became a paralegal.
Well, before I became a paralegal, 2004, I went and got my GED.
Wow.
So I started on that first. I began to understand, the fundamentals of reading and comprehension skills. I had to learn that first. And once I learned that, then I said, you know what, I'm gonna get in college. And the first college course I took was psychology. And they didn't have I was transferred from that prison to another prison. They didn't have a proctor, so instead of me continuing on with that, I got into business management, small business management, entrepreneurship, and what is logic and critical thinking, right? Then I did that, and then I became interested in enrolling for paralegal.
So you begin
studies.
to tap into your brilliance, even though you're in this place where they say, life is over for you. You start living.
Yes.
Right then and there, and in you choosing to say, you know what, I'm living because I'm gonna get out of here. Absolutely. Let me arm myself with the knowledge. And so, when you became a paralegal, did your outlook on your case look different? Did you start? Absolutely. Now that you understood what was happening to you?
Absolutely. So let me say this: my late grandfather, Oscar, he told me one time. He said, "Listen, don't you ever." He said, "They can have your body, but they can't have your mind."
I love that.
He say that belongs to you. Whatever you want to do in that mind, you can do. And he say, and once you reach that conclusion, I support that. Him and his wife Sharon, and they the one that paid for my Blackstone Career Institute to become a certified paralegal. That was the start of that. So did that, and looking at the case, I began to see things different. I began to see where the criminality of the police and the district attorney's office began to play a part, in this role for conviction. And I began to look at, what they quote unquote said was evidence against me. And like, that's not evidence against me. You just picked that up and said, hey, this is involved in this without no proof. You ain't took no pictures of where you got that from. You ain't no DNA of mine on there. I know it's not no DNA on there of mine on his ski mask beanie because it don't belong to me. Right. So that's how I know that.
Wow. So you're navigating. I mean, because you basically now you're living two different lives. I mean, you're living the life of, I got to get myself out of here. But sure there's codes and you got to, step a certain kind of way while you're in there.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you don't want to share too much because you don't know who's going to be an informant. I mean, so you're having to navigate and juggle through all of that. Is at some point there had to be some stressors. Like, how did you relieve that? What kept your sanity?
Yeah. So it's good you say that, right? Because that was a factor. And that's what took so long for me to get on on that path of fighting to get out of there, because I didn't trust anyone. I didn't trust no one well enough to share the factors of the case with, for the fear of somebody might use that and then try to get out of prison himself, based on that, right? Because I knew stories like that. I heard, some of the brothers say, hey, man, you got a jailhouse informant, what I'm saying? That's why I'm still here. So I didn't want to go through that. So that was one of the stressors. But what kept me sane was my belief in God. I knew that God, he was powerful. He is powerful. And I kept that relationship with him. And that relationship, wasn't for everybody to see. That relationship was just between me and him. And I prayed and I prayed And and even when things didn't go the way that I wanted them to go, I still knew. I said, okay, this is not the time for it right now. Everything is on His timing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I just had to ride that out.
Right. So you're in there talking to God and fighting through a system.
Yes.
I mean, because obviously that system is not designed for you to ever come out.
Yes.
Because inside of there's access to things that's not necessarily available outside, but it comes to tear your mind apart. It comes to kill just any life that you have left on the inside of you. And so you're navigating through this. I remember you shared something with me that basically this incarceration was like a blessing in disguise because it did save your life. But what touched me the most is that you said audibly, I'm not dying in here.
Absolutely not.
Like that took, was there ever a moment in just your prayer time that you felt like God's not going to let me die in here?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So, I wrote letters. And I remember explicitly those letters saying, hey, I need, assistance. I need your help in this matter. If I don't receive this type of help that I'm requesting, then chances are I'm going to die in prison. And when I didn't get not one response back from those letters, kicked in.
Yeah.
Don't rely on people.
Wow.
Don't rely on people. And that's when my bond with my Lord and Savior is strengthened.
It's strengthened.
Say, I don't know what it is that you're trying to tell me, but I'm a listen.
Right.
I'm a listen. And I took that and I held on to that. And then just to have, these intimate conversations with, some of the brothers that, became my brothers in there. And they would tell me, well, you gonna go home, because now at this point I began to share with them, what it is, and I began to share the evidence, that I was finding, wrong with the case, and they like, hey, you know what, you're gonna get up out of there. That's crazy. You're gonna get up out of there.
There's a picture that you have of your cell, and it looks like that's your devotional time. I want you to look at this picture. This right here. It's not a whole lot. It's not a whole lot. Okay. Oh, that's yours. That's yours. That's your okay, God. That's your prayer time. Okay, but in that's fine. We can still use that because it looks like something is happening. Your prayer time and your prayer time is happening. But there was a time that you didn't know this wonderful lady that is sitting on the side of you, right? And I mean, I love your story. I mean, call me goofy, but I'm goofy for a good love story, And so while you're fighting for your life, somebody else came along and said, I'm going to be your hands and your feet on the outside to make sure that you do not die in here alone. So now I've talked to you guys, but I mean, how you holler at somebody that hard and get her attention? Like you was like, so tell me what happened.
So after being involved in different relationships and stuff like that, and I came to the conclusion that if it wasn't for a true connection, so to speak, you help me, I help you, and just bonding and building together, then what is it for? I don't want to waste your time, and I don't want you wasting my time. At this point right now in my life, I'm fighting to get out of here. Can you assist me with that? And in those relationships, the actions prove that no, I can't assist you with that. So I'm in the visiting room one time, and I see her, and I asked her cousin, hey, who is that? He's like, that's my cousin.
Hold on. So wait a minute, you bothering somebody else visit?
Absolutely.
She was that stunning. You was
absolutely.
Like, who was you visiting? Yeah. Who was visiting you when you was over there looking?
Somebody that was headed out the door. Somebody that was headed out the door.
So listen, Lady Godfrey, thank you for joining me, honey, because you're gonna have to step in here. Listen. So you in there visiting your cousin, and he like leaned over, like was you like, I'll give you some cup of noodles if you hook me up? Like
I just told her, hey, bud, who was that? Oh, that's my cousin. So they call me rock star, and she's like, that ain't your. Eventually, she's like, that ain't your name, man. But it's from a character in the book that I wrote. But anyway, he like I say, man, actually gotta get her number.
Mhm.
And she told him, "Nah, don't you be giving my number out." He said, "I'm gonna give it to you anyway." So he ended up giving it to me, and I called her. You know,
Mhm.
at the time I'm playing with cell phones and
Right.
stuff like that. So I called her. Like, who is this? But it was she had put one of lady cousins on the phone. So the lady cousins, like what they call catfish. They tried to do the catfish.
you?
No. They was trying
They
to.
was trying to.
But I'm asking questions that she couldn't answer. Only she can answer. So it got to the point where she like, girl, you need to get on there because he asking questions that I don't have the answers to, right?
I love it.
So she finally get on the phone, and you know the rest is history. So
What was your first impression of her?
just that she was beautiful. You know, she was beautiful. She like, I don't talk to people in there and this and that, and I don't be giving money. I said, I don't want so. And at the time, like I said,
And
I'm doing
hello,
my thing.
listen.
So I showed her like, I don't need your money. I got my own stuff going on. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause I told her, I say, she like, when you get out, I say soon, and that's when the seriousness of my situation came. I'm like, but listen, let me share something with you. I was wrongfully convicted. She like, that's what they all say. I say, no, seriously. I say, I'm not just saying that just to be saying it. I say that I actually have proof of that. Shit like that. I say, and if you be patient enough, I can show you. I can take you down the steps of this. And
What were you thinking? Like,
I was just like they all say that.
uh-huh.
And I was asking him to show me why he was wrongfully convicted.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me why he was wrongfully convicted.
Now you're gonna have to speak up, girl. Uh-huh.
I asked him, show me that you were wrongfully convicted.
Mhm.
So he was showing me all the stuff, talking to me over the phone and stuff. And I started getting more and more involved in, his situation, and I was asking him, like, what is it that I can do? So he wrote down on the paper, like this long list. It was words. At first, I couldn't even understand the word exoneration. I used to say, what did it say? Exoneration? He said exoneration. So it took me a while to learn that word, but just the language of the law, just him being wrongfully convicted. So
he said to me that you were like the support system that he really needed on many of days, that you were part of the reason why he said, I can't keep, I don't want to live the life I lived outside on the inside, because she's not only do I want to get out of here for myself, but I want to get out of here for her. What was that? Did that sound like, okay, yeah, that's what they all say. But what part of you made you think like, okay, he's serious?
I was praying to God. I was in a situation like where I was real bitter. And I just gave up on just being in a relationship. And I knew it was real because I started telling him the things that I was doing. And he was just listening to me. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to lie to you about the things that I'm doing. And we was only just like friends at the time. And I was like, God, if he is for me, please show me, show me. And he just started dealing with me and stuff like that. It's just like, I just kept telling him everything. So I knew it was real because I've never been in a relationship where I can just open up, just like, I did this, and with him, I'm just like, bloop, bloop, bloop.
Right. You just spilling your guts. Love will make you tell, won't it?
And then one visit turned into 10 years visits.
Wow. Awesome. Listen, I have this picture of you guys. I think tell me what this picture is. Is this like the picture of you guys have first gotten together?
Yes.
That one?
Yep.
So, I mean, now, y'all got to tell me, come on now, talk to me. What's going on? Girl, you had on your little plaid shirt on.
I was about 30 pounds lighter. I was about 30 pounds. I was about 30 pounds lighter. But yeah, that was one of the first visits.
So when you walked away, and when you walked away, what was the conversations that was going on in your head?
Well, I actually asked her, like, this is the last time? And she was like, no. I was like, all right. She was like, you didn't even kiss me. I was like, you didn't invite me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
what were you thinking? What were you thinking in your head? Like,
I was just like, man, I'm in church. Like, I don't want to show people who I'm dating. I was embarrassed because he was in prison.
Let's talk about that, because there still is a taboo, about that. I'm sure that was different, because it's not like it's too many people out here be like, yeah, girl, go on down to San Quentin and find you one. That's not it. But there was something in your heart. What conversation did you have with yourself and that you had with the Lord that says, you know what, this is my life partner?
I was like, God, I don't want to hide him because he don't deserve that. I didn't care about people judging me at that point. I was just like, I don't care no more, because I was by myself for a very long time when I got with him. And I was like, I don't care no more. Because one day he asked me, he's like, how come you never post our picture? I was like, I don't know. I would just make up all these excuses. But the excuses was because I didn't want the church people to see who I was dating because he was in prison.
But you told me something that shook me to my core. You said prayer was the thing that jailed you guys and kept you going.
Yes.
So like, were y'all like praying how did that work? I mean, was you over there and how did that work?
Same as we do today. It haven't stopped. So in the morning, before we do anything, we get on the phone, we pray. I pray over her, she pray over me. And then once the day conclude, at night, at the end of the phone calls, we'll pray again, for that night. And we fasted together as well. So we did that.
So now you go from hustling to fasting. Wait a minute.
So
now you got a good wife. You go from hustling to fasting and seeking God.
She asked me, she said, you know how to pray? I said, yeah. I found it like I was put on the spot. Yeah, I know how to pray. She's like, pray. I'm like, no, you pray, because my relationship with God is between me and him, right? But I didn't understand at the moment when she was asking. So I prayed, and then I heard her pray. I say, girl, so you over here praying, like, where you come from? So I just had to make a decision, and she told me, she's like, I don't want you doing that stuff no more. What happened was this: I ended up catching in prison case. Wow. I got caught with a bundle of drugs, and I went to the hole. And when I went to the hole, that was in April of 2015. When I went to the hole, I'm back there, and that's why I just let it all go. We have these conversations. I tell you, one time I was on my knees praying, and one of the lieutenants came to the door, and he just being, Satan, and he see me on my knees. I'm in the cell by myself. I'm on my knees, and I'm in prayer. He boom, 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 boom. Are you all right in there? Boom, 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 boom. You all right in there? Boom, boom, boom. He kicked the door. You all right in there? And I just shook my head. And at the time, I was like, Satan, I'm under God. I'm under attack by Satan. Protect me, And I received a letter, from her, and she was like, "Where you at? I haven't heard from you," because I was taken away, so I couldn't use the phone or anything like that. And at that point, I said, you know what? I got to change. So when I got out of the asset, she told me, I don't want you doing those things. You got to stop doing those things. And I made the decision to
so this is kind of like 3 years later, because I mean, we talked, and so I'm kind of like piecing your guys' story together. So there was a day you told him, I'm not your girlfriend. So he was like, that's my girlfriend. You was like, I'm not your girlfriend.
And I said, whatever.
And you said, whatever. So because of that, because you said you caught an inside case, they told you, I think you had lost your visits because you were coming to visit.
Yes, lost my visit.
Okay, so what did that look like?
1 year, no, it was 3 year loss. 1 year, no visit at all.
Wait a minute, you lost 3 years of visits?
Yes. So 1 year, no visit at all. And then the next 2 years was non-contact visit, so behind the glass. So yes.
And you stayed?
And when she did that, I knew this is a different woman right here.
A day is coming. There'll be no war. Peace will take over the land.
On the next and final episode of Life with Lizzy, Season 1.
Okay, so let me go there. Prior to the evidence being tested, months before, the witness came in and testified in the hearing.
Got it.
And told them that I didn't commit this crime and that he lied, and the reason why he held on because he was scared of repercussions from the actual perpetrator or the police or whatnot.
God will separate the right from wrong. then we'll be changed in a moment, caught up in the